Truly, through the laws and recommendations of the wellspring of love creation, all disgracefulnesses, badnesses, are not recommended to people of your kind, human beings, through upholding, maintaining, insight, rationality, and sagacity intellect, neither those which are committed openly in public, nor those which are done in secret. Thus, however, disgracefulnesses, badnesses, are give out terror and coercion, and everything that you place next to the wellspring of love creation, which you have no right entitlement to do, and therefore it is disgracefulness, badness. If you curse the wellspring of love creation, and say things about it which are untruth, and what you do not know of it, and disgracefulness, badness, is within and outside of you, as well as lovelessness and unpeace, unfreedom, bondage, dissonance, disharmony, and also hatred and thirst for revenge, thirst for retaliation and jealousy, strife and battle, war, bloody deed, murder, outrage, act of give out and coercion, inequity and fairness, causing harm to the body and life and the psyche and the inner world consciousness, as well as misdeeds, crimes of all kinds. For every action, a time is set at which a reckoning will be demanded for it, and when the hour has come, then the demand for reckoning cannot be put off by even one moment, nor can it be postponed, be it by your jurisdiction or through the primal creative law of condition, cause and decision, effect equals cause and effect. Consider, if true prophets come to you from your midst who at present teach you all the signs, evidence of the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life, then they come to point out, reveal to you the way to the real truth in respect venerability, so that you may do good deeds through the truth, and no fear and no sorrow may come over you over which you cannot prevail, master. Those amongst you, however, who condemn the signs, teaching, the explanations and marvels of the true prophets, and turn yourselves away from them with disdain, you are the inhabitants of an evil fire and knowledge and inequity and fairness in yourselves, in which you tarry so long until you bethink yourselves. And truly, those amongst you who fabulate, invent lies against the truth and against the true prophets, or who accuse, blame their signs, marvels of being lies and deception, you choose your own destiny by afflicting yourselves with unpeace and unfreedom, bondage, as well as lovelessness and dissonance, disharmony, against yourselves, because truly, instead of you turning to the truth, you are accustomed to calling on and praying to gods and tin gods and people of your kind, human beings, despite the fact that you cannot find in them the truth, and neither advantage, success, nor disadvantage, loss, damage. Therefore you give an evil testimony against yourselves, against your own power and your own action capability. Those of you who are against the truth, you foment in yourselves a fire of evil, and you band together with throngs of people of your kind, like-minded ones, and if one of your throngs meets another throng, then you curse one another, so that the ones talks badly about the others, and yet once again return to doing terrible things together, but you also lead one another into delusion and deceive one another. Therefore you are befallen doubly by anguish and the fire of hatred, and no righteous, conscientious friendship comes about amongst you. And those of you who are against the truth, you are non-righteous ones, conscienceless ones, and unfair ones, irresponsible ones, in yourselves and amongst one another. Therefore you say to the others that they do not have any benefit, advantage over you, and are even worse than you are, and by doing so you bring forth hatred and strife amongst yourselves, and start to strike and to kill one another. Truly, you unfair ones, irresponsible ones, and non-righteous ones, conscienceless ones, you condemn all signs, evidence of certain actual truth, and turn away from it with disdain, although in doing so you do not realize how you are increasingly closing off your inner world consciousness to the true existence reality, and are withering in your world of thoughts and feelings as well as in your psyche truthfully. You cannot open your firmament of your inner world consciousness, and cannot go into its firmament consciousness levels, in order to comprehend them and to gain unfolding evolutive advantage, success, from them, and truly a camel would be more likely to pass through the eye of a needle than for you to turn to the real truth without you first suffering great and painful harm and a serious calamity, because you are truthfully great malefactors and only learn through harm and calamity. And see that it is only if you turn to the truth in good measure and follow the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life, and if you learn from it and do good deeds both for yourselves and also for all people of your kind, fellow human beings, who always meet you and who need your help, only then do you cease to burden yourselves with inequity, unfairness, and non-righteousness, consciencelessness, as well as with virtuelessness, so that you may find freedom and peace and therefore also consonance harmony in your inner world consciousness and in its firmaments consciousness levels, as you are no longer inhabitants of the shadow world hell, of evil in yourselves, and you can henceforth also dwell in true love in yourselves. And if you are knowing conscious in the truth and do good deeds from this, if you confirm spread true love and freedom as well as peace and consonance harmony in yourselves and outside yourselves amongst people of your kind, fellow human beings, then you do not burden yourselves and people of your kind, fellow human beings, above your and above their ability, so you find well-being in your inner world consciousness, and in your psyche as inhabitants of your inner firmament levels of consciousness, just as the inner firmaments levels of consciousness open for people of your kind, fellow human beings, and allow well-being to flood in. Strive to sweep away everything that is in your thoughts and feelings in terms of resentment against people of your kind next ones, and sweep away everything from within yourselves which burdens you through strife and jealousy, through hatred and thirst for revenge, as well as through depravity, thirst for retaliation and vice, as well as through avarice and craving for validation, ambition, megalomania, and all other terrible things. Prize the true love and freedom in yourselves as well as the peace and consonance harmony, so that you may be rightly led, guided, and truly, you can only find the right leadership guidance if you follow the truth of the laws and recommendations of the wellspring of love creation. Consider that at all times the true prophets only brought to you the truth for you to follow, and never lies. Call say to yourselves that the true prophets have given you the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life as an inheritance for you to follow it and pass it on to your descendants, and for your descendants to pass it on to their own descendants, children's children, etc., in turn, so that you and your descendants and their own descendants, children's children, etc., are rewarded for what is effected through following the teaching of truth. See, if you follow the teaching of truth, then you are inhabitants of the firmament, the light, because you have found what the laws and recommendations of the wellspring of love creation teach. But if you do not follow the teaching of truth, then you are inhabitants of the shadow world hell, dolefulness, because you cannot find what the laws and recommendations of the wellspring of love creation teach, and because you cannot find the truth through your own blame, since you are connected to evil and unfairness or responsibility, and not connected to the truth. Therefore you curse yourselves and turn yourselves into malefactors against the laws and recommendations of the wellspring of love creation. And those of you who are unfair ones, irresponsible ones, and non-righteous ones, conscienceless ones, and who are ones who curse the truth, you are at all times busily striving to make people of your kind, fellow human beings, turn away from the right path of the truth which you strive to make crooked, so that those who are uncertain or wavering may fall victim to you.